I've given this aircraft a lot of stick and called it a flying trash can. Stand by it. It is a flying junkyard. It's a collection of pieces. It's not really a designed aircraft. But I'm actually going to go into why I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, and why actually, for what it set out to achieve, this was a good aircraft. Now, I still think that the Sabre was a better aircraft, and the reason for that is because pure numbers. The Sabre shot down more of these. It took the absolute best of the best Russian pilots to even come close to being just slightly behind on kill-death ratio in these. So, yeah, you know, it's kind of hard to argue it being a superior aircraft. And also, the Sabre was kind of fighting in an arena that it was designed for, whereas this was really designed to chase after bombers with these various cannons. It's got two 23mm and a 37, and it was designed to chase after bombers and shoot the bombers down. It wasn't really designed for dogfighting, especially not at low level. So, yeah, that's why the Sabre kind of had the edge on it. That said, what made this actually a brilliant bit of kit and a really good aircraft was that coming out of the Second World War, Russia had a problem. They were coming out of the war, they were quite battered, their infrastructure and industry was in tatters, but they still had a basic ability to build and maintain things. But the rest of the world was building complicated machines like jets, and they needed to be able to build a jet fighter that could match, or at least be on a peer level, because they were deathly afraid that the Allies were just going to start putting in waves of bombers into Russia. So they wanted something that they could send up and have a reasonable chance of tackling those waves of bombers, and this is what they came up with. Now, part of it was obviously they used the swept wing design, which they had Russian prisoners of war, German prisoners of war. They had stuff that they learnt from the stuff they captured from Germany about swept wing design, which is why this is actually one of the earlier swept wing aircraft that took advantage of that and gave it quite an edge, especially over things like the Gloucester Comet. Yeah, anyway, over the straight wing aircraft like the J-80, F-80. Oh, I'm tired, it's been a long day, I'm forgetting my aircraft numbers, but basically if you had a straight wing aircraft and this wins. But the Americans also had the Sabre, so that won. So anyway, Russia had this issue, they wanted an aircraft, and the way they achieved it was they designed an aircraft that could be built on a much lower skill set than necessarily Western aircraft, and included in that they had a bit of a lucky break, which is they managed to acquire British Rolls-Royce engines, and they took them away and they re-engineered them and rebuilt them in their own kind of image, but they also redesigned them rather, so that they could be built using much more, I don't want to say simple engineering, but essentially they needed them to be able to be built by people who weren't necessarily at the same skill level as Rolls-Royce engineers, and they did that, and they did it successfully. So although it is technically a British engine that powers this, it's a Russian practically redesigned version of a British engine that designs this, and it made it quick. It was a quick aircraft. Yes, it has a load of inherent flaws, but compared to the MiG-9, which was just a disaster, this was really, it was what Russia needed, which was an aircraft that was capable of being peer level jet interceptor that could intercept bombers. But there's all sorts of interesting kind of things that happen to the design of it, which is things like the wings used to turn up, when it turned up on the field, they had to physically bend bits of wings to tune it so that they could get it to fly stably in level flight, because as they came out of the factory, the wings sometimes weren't very well matched, so it would be inherently unstable, and they'd have to use a little bit of spanner, whacking to make the thing into a moderately stable aircraft. So, it's got its pluses and minuses. I don't love this aircraft, but I do respect it. I do respect it for what it was intended to be and for the gap that it filled at a time when Russia needed an aircraft that was peer capable, and this was it. And to be fair, it wasn't unsuccessful. It just wasn't, in my view, wasn't as good as its contemporaries, not in the roles that it found itself in.